Pooja, just let us know when to start.
Live.
Naren, please mute yourself.
Sorry.
Manav, it's live. You can start.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this session of Samagam on the program.
It's buffering. Please wait.
Participants are saying that they are not able to see.
It's still streaming. Just wait for a few minutes. It's loading. As the technical person, it's showing like this.
The session is not started, not showing.
Yeah,
Yeah, Manoj, go ahead.
participants are not able to see or hear.
Go ahead.
Okay, Manas, you go ahead.
Okay. Good afternoon, friends, and welcome to this session of Samagam on the program that we have in Odisha on promotion of agriculture production clusters in tribal regions. No, people are not able to hear this. Are you able to hear? Yes. Okay. Okay.
We can hear you. I don't know what it is.
Okay. Thank you all for taking time out and being here today. I am Manas Satpathy. I've been in PRADAN for 30 plus years, and I'm integrating its efforts on research and advocacy now. As we know, the purpose of Samagam 2020 is to reflect on our experiences of collaborative efforts and jointly come up with a roadmap to create a better future for all, and also to work towards the sustainable development goals in India. This agriculture production cluster promotion program is a collaborative effort by Department of Agriculture and Farmers Empowerment and Department of Panchayat Raj and Drinking Water of Government of Odisha, Bharat Rural Livelihood Foundation, BRLF, PRADAN, and many other NGOs in the state. It aims to double the income of 1 lakh small and marginal families in a sustainable manner by establishing agriculture production clusters in around 40 tribal dominated blocks of the state. It involves improvement in production systems and marketing services, non-chemical pest and nutrient management, promotion of climate resilient remunerative crops, biodiversity, and so on. In this 1.5 hour session, we will listen to the experiences of different stakeholders involved in the project. Then brainstorm with the esteemed panel. We have 4 panelists. We have a panel discussion we'll have, and then heed the reflections and advice of our guest speakers. We have 2 of them. You may have questions during the presentations and panel discussions. Please write them in the question and answer box. We will collate them for the panelists to respond subsequently. So now we will start the session. Already we are late by 14 minutes, so it may get extended beyond 2 o'clock as it was planned up till 2. So let us see. Now we will start with a film explaining the project, APC project, Agriculture Production Cluster Project, its concepts and components, and also the progress so far. So Kirti, you may start the movie now.
In Odisha, The Agriculture Production Cluster Project is being implemented in partnership with the state government and 17 civil society organizations.
कोरापुट गोटे आमर आदिवासी अध्युषित अंचल जोटा कि आमर एपीसी थ्रू रे आमे कोन करिछु ना
Is my screen visible?
Yes.
Yes,
And
yes,
now it stopped.
Okay.
Now visible.
Okay.
ଆପଣଙ୍କର ଗୋଟେ କନଭର୍ଜେନ୍ସି ମଡେଲ ବା ବିଭିନ୍ନ ପ୍ରକାର ଡିପାର୍ଟମେଣ୍ଟ ସହିତ ଇନଫ୍ଲୁଏନ୍ସ ମଧ୍ୟ କାମ କରୁଛନ୍ତି ଯୋଉଟା କି BRLF ଆଉ ଫଣ୍ଡିଂ ତାଙ୍କ ରିଭାଇଜେସନ ପାଇଁ ପ୍ରୋଜେକ୍ଟ ପ୍ଲିଜ ଫୁଟବଲ ପ୍ଲେୟର ଗୋଟେ ସିଷ୍ଟମେଟିକ ୱେରେ କାମ କରୁଥିଲା ଫର ଏକ୍ସାମ୍ପଲ କହିବି ଯଦି ଇରିଗେସନ ଗୋଟେ ୱାଟର ସୋର୍ସ ତିଆରି କରୁଥିଲା ତାକୁ ଫଲୋ କରିବା କଥା ଭେଜିଟେବୁଲ କରେ ଓଡ଼ିଶା ଇରିଗେସନ କାମ କରୁଥିଲା ଆଗ୍ରିକଲଚର କାମ କରୁଥିଲା ସଏଲ କନଜରଭେସନ କରୁଥିଲା କିନ୍ତୁ ବିଭିନ୍ନ ଜାଗାରେ ଅଲଗା ପ୍ରକାର ଭାବେ କାମ କରୁଥିଲେ କିନ୍ତୁ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଏବେ କିଛି ଆରମ୍ଭ ହେଲା ସେତେବେଳେ କଣ ହେଲା ନା ସବୁ ଡିପାର୍ଟମେଣ୍ଟ ଗୋଟେ ଜାଗାରେ କନଫରେନ୍ସ ଏଠି କାମ କଲେ
କିଛି କେତେ ଏଇଟା ସ୍କ୍ରିନରେ ଆସୁଛି ଲୋକମାନଙ୍କୁ ଦେଖାଯାଉନି
Movies over, na?
Manas, yes, so.
Okay. With us today we have Kumari Kadraka Didi from Kolnara block, Raigada, to share her experience of APC project. She is a participant of the project. So the movie showed us the concepts and the main idea behind this initiative to converge different government programs in the project villages. Now let us hear the experience of Kumari Kadraka Didi.
कुमार नमस्कार मो ना कुमारी रायगड़ा जिल्लारू तरफ मो गोटे महिला चाषी जगत जननी महिला चाषी संघर ଆଉ 2009 ମସିହାରେ ଆମେ ଗ୍ରୁପ ମା ମଝିଗର ଗ୍ରୁପ ଗଠନ କରିଥିଲୁ। ସେଥିରେ ଧୀରେ ଧୀରେ ଚାଷ ଆରମ୍ଭ କରିଥିଲୁ କି ଲଙ୍କା ବାଇଗଣ ବିକ୍ରି ବଟାରେ ବେଶୀ ଅସୁବିଧା ଥିଲା, ବିକ୍ରି ବଟା ହେଇ ପାରୁନଥିଲା। ତାପରେ ଆମେ ବଣ୍ଡା ପିପିଲି ପ୍ରଧାନ ସହଯୋଗରୁ 21,000 ଏକର ଜାଗାରେ ଚାଷ ହଉଥିଲା। ସେଠି ଦେଖିଲା ପରେ ଗାଡି ଲାଗିଥିଲା। ଆମେ ସେଠି ଶିକ୍ଷା ପାଇଲୁ ଯେ ଏମିତି ବଡ ଜାଗାରେ ଚାଷ କଲେ ଆମର ବିକ୍ରି ବଟା ଅସୁବିଧା ହେବ ନାହିଁ, ଆମେ ବିକ୍ରି କରିପାରିବୁ। ଆଉ ସେଠି ଦେଖିଲୁ ମହିଳା ମାନେ ବେଶୀ ଚାଷ କରିଥିଲେ, ବିଧବା ବି ଚାଷ କରିଥିଲା। ସେମିତି ଆମେ ବି କରିପାରିବୁ ବୋଲି ସେ ସାହସରେ ଆଉ ଆସିକି ଆମର ସମାନ ଏପେସ୍ ପ୍ରୋଜେକ୍ଟ ଆସିଲା। ଏପେସ୍ ପ୍ରୋଜେକ୍ଟ ଆସିଲା ପରେ ଆମେ ମହିଳା ସଂଗଠନ କଲୁ, ମହିଳା ଚାଷୀ ସଂଗଠନ କଲା ପରେ ଆମେ ଭାବିଲୁ ଆମେ ଯେମିତି ବଣ୍ଡା ପିପିଲିରେ ମାନେ ସେ ଜାଗାରେ ଚାଷ କରିକି କରିପାରୁଛନ୍ତି ଆମେ ବି ସେମିତି କରିବା ବୋଲି ମୋ ମା ମାନେ ଏକଜୁଟ ହେଲୁ। ଏକଜୁଟ ହେଲା ପରେ ଆମେ ବି ସେମିତି ବଡ ବଡ ଜାଗାରେ ଚାଷ କରୁଛୁ। ଗାଡି ଲାଗୁଛି, ବିକ୍ରି ବଟାର କିଛି ଅସୁବିଧା ନାହିଁ। ଆଗରେ ଅସୁବିଧା ଥିଲା ଆମକୁ ଲାଜ କରୁଥିଲେ, ଆଉ ହସା ମଜା ଏମିତି କୋଉଠି ବିକ୍ରି କରିବ, କୋଉ ନଦୀରେ ପକେଇବ ବୋଲି ସାହୁକାର ମାନେ ଆମକୁ ଡରଉଥିଲେ। ଏବେ ସେ ଅସୁବିଧା ସେ ଡର ଭୟ କିଛି ନାହିଁ। ଆମର ବଡ ଜାଗାରେ ଚାଷ ହଉଛି ଆଉ ଗାଡି ଲାଗୁଛି, ଆମେ ବିକ୍ରି କରିପାରୁଛୁ। ମୁଁ ଗତ ବର୍ଷ 87 ଜାଗାରେ ଚାଷ କରିଥିଲି, 60,000 ଟଙ୍କା ଇନକମ କରିଥିଲେ। ସେମିତି ମୋର ଭଳିଆ ଦିଦି ମାନେ ବି ବେଶୀ ବେଶୀ ଟଙ୍କା ରୋଜଗାର କରିଥିଲେ କମ ଜାଗାରେ। ଆମକୁ ଆମେ ଭାବିଥିଲୁ କି କୋଉଠି ବିକିବୁ, କଣ କରିବୁ, ଆଉ କରୋନା ସମୟକୁ ଆମେ ବାହାର କୁଲପତି ନାହିଁ କେମିତି ପଇସା ହେବ, ଆଉ କରିଲେ କୋଉଠି ବିକିବା ବୋଲି ଆମର ଡର ଥିଲା। ସେ ଡରକୁ ବି ଆମେ ପଛରେ ପକେଇ ଦେଇ କେମିତି ହେଲେ ବି ଆମକୁ ଚାଷ ପଡିବ। ଆମକୁ ତ ଚାଷ ନ କଲେ ବଞ୍ଚିବା ପାଇଁ କିଛି ନାହିଁ। ସେ ପରିସ୍ଥିତିରେ ଆମକୁ ITA ବି ବହୁତ ସପୋର୍ଟ କଲା। ଆଉ ସପୋର୍ଟ କଲା କି ନେଟ ସେଠୁ ମିଶିକି ସମସ୍ତେ ଚାରା ପକେଇବା ପାଇଁ ଆଉ ଔଷଧ ମଞ୍ଜି ସାହାଯ୍ୟ କରିଥିଲେ। ଆଉ ଆମେ ନିଜ ପଇସାରେ ଦେଶୀ ଆଳୁ ବି ଲଗେଇଛୁ। ଆଉ ମୁଁ ଏବେକୁ ପାଇଛି 80,000 ଟଙ୍କା। ଆଗକୁ ମୋର 30,000 ଟଙ୍କା ପାଇବି ବୋଲି ଆଶା କରୁଛି। ମୋର ସ୍ୱପ୍ନ ଥିଲା କି 1,00,000 ଟଙ୍କାକୁ କେମିତି ମୁଁ ପହଞ୍ଚିବି। ଆଉ ଆମ ଗାଁରେ ମହିଳା ମାନେ ବେଶୀ ବିଧବା ମା ମାନେ ଅଛନ୍ତି। ମୋର ଭଳିଆ ଅନ୍ୟ ଏକ ପଇସା କେମିତି, ମୁଁ ଗୋଟେ ମହିଳା ଚାଷୀ ଆଉ ମୋର ଭଳିଆ ପାଠ ସାଠ ନ ପଢିକି ବି ମା ମାନେ ଅଛନ୍ତି। ସେମିତି ନିଜ ଗୋଡରେ ଆମକୁ ଏବେ ପ୍ରୋଜେକ୍ଟରେ ମହିଳା ଚାଷୀ ବନେଇଲା ପରେ ମହିଳା ଚାଷୀ ଆମକୁ ଦିଆ କରିଛି ଯେ ନିଜ ଗୋଡରେ ନ କରିକି ପଇସା ଯେମିତି ଗୋଟେ ପୁରୁଷ ଚାଷୀ ବୋଲି ପରିଚୟ ପାଉଛି, ଆମେ ବି ମହିଳା ମାନେ କେମିତି ଚାଷୀ ପରିଚୟ ପାଇବୁ ଆଉ ନିଜ ଗୋଡରେ ଠିଆ ହେବୁ। ଏମିତି ମା ମାନେ ବି ଆଉ ଏମିତି ଆଗକୁ ବଢନ୍ତୁ। ଆଉ ଆମେ ଆଉ ଯେମିତିକି ମାନେ ନିଜ ଇଚ୍ଛାରେ ବଞ୍ଚି ପାରିବେ, ନିଜ ଚାଷ କରିପାରିବେ। ଆମ ପାଖରେ କୁଲି ଗାଁ, ମଜୁରୀ ଗାଁ ଆଉ ଅଶିକ୍ଷିତ ଗାଁ ବୋଲି କହୁଥିଲେ, ଏବେ ସେମିତି ନାହିଁ। ଆମର ମା ମାନେ ନିଜେ ନିଜେ କାମ କରିକି 60,000-70,000 ଟଙ୍କା ଲୋକେ ଯାଇ ମୋଠୁ ଅଧିକ ପଇସା ରୋଜଗାର କଲେଣି। ସେଟା ପାଇଁ ମୁଁ ବହୁତ ଖୁସି ଅଛି। ଏତେ ପଇସା ରୋଜଗାର କରିପାରୁଛି ବୋଲି, ମୁଁ ଗୋଟେ ମହିଳା ଚାଷୀ ବୋଲି ସେତିକି କହି ମୁଁ ରହୁଛି। ସମସ୍ତଙ୍କୁ ଆଜି ଏତେ ବଡ ସଭାରେ କହିବା ପାଇଁ ସୁଯୋଗ ଦେଇଥିବାରୁ ସମସ୍ତଙ୍କୁ ମୁଁ ବହୁତ ବହୁତ ଧନ୍ୟବାଦ ଜଣାଉଛି।
ଧନ୍ୟବାଦ ଦିଦି, ନିଜର ଅନୁଭବ ଏତେ ଭଲ ଭାବରେ ଆମ ଆଗରେ ପ୍ରସ୍ତୁତ କରିଥିବାରୁ ଆଉ ସମୟ କାଢି ଆସିଥିବାରୁ ଧନ୍ୟବାଦ। Let me
ଆଜ୍ଞା
translate briefly.
ଧନ୍ୟବାଦ।
Let me briefly translate what she said. Even after acquiring the skills of producing vegetables, Kadraka Didi and her fellow villagers were scared to go for vegetable cultivation in more than 10 to 20 decimal land, as marketing the produce was a concern. Now, by organizing into a producers group and with the help from trained entrepreneurs in the village, they have identified the right crops and adopted the improved practices and access the benefits from government programs to grow them in 50 to 100 decimal land each. to earn around 50,000 to 70,000 rupees in a year, and it is increasing. So even during COVID-19, she says their income remained unaffected. So they could go for the crops and sell them. Thank you. So next, while bringing change in the life and livelihoods of women, APC project could change the livelihood scenario of the whole village. So let us see a movie to understand that, to understand the impact so far that has been brought about by the project in Khunta block of Mayurbhanj district. Yes, Kirti.
Yes. Is my screen visible?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Just see whether sound is coming or not.
No sound.
Sound is missing,
No
Kirti.
sound?
No sound.
Okay, just
Please,
a minute. Give me.
Please restart the film. Thank you.
मोर नाम सरस्वती मुर्मू।
Is sound coming?
Very faint.
Okay, just a minute. It's okay.
No sound.
No sound?
No.
Let's see. Is it coming?
No.
Just give me 1 second. I will stop share, then I will again share.
Ask him to play from the beginning.
Yes, it's audible.
Okay.
मोर नाम सरस्वती मुर्मू। आम ग्रामर नाम होचे चापलडिगे। 2 वर्ष पूर्वरु आम गाँव 2-3 जन चाष करुथिले पनिपरिबा, समस्ते धान चाष रे निर्भर करुथिले। समस्तंकु लागुथिला आमर गाँव रे जो मुरुम माटी अछि सेठी पनिपरिबा चाष हेई परिबनी, सेति पई केही आ चाष करू नथिले।
ପୂର୍ବରୁ ଏଠି କିଛି ଚାଷବାସ ହେଉନଥିଲା। ନୂଆ ଜାଗା ଯେହେତୁ ଥିଲା, ଏଠି ଲୋକମାନେ ଅଧିକା ଜାଗାରେ ଚାଷ କରିବାକୁ ରାଜି ନଥିଲେ। ତ ଆମେ ସେଥିପାଇଁ ସାହି ସ୍ତରୀୟ ମିଟିଂ କଲୁ ଆଉ ତାଙ୍କର ବିଜନେସ୍ ପ୍ଲାନ୍ କଲୁ ଏବଂ ତାଙ୍କ ଭଳିଆ ଯେଉଁ ମାଟି ଆଉ ତାଙ୍କର ଏନଭାୟରମେଣ୍ଟ କଣ୍ଡିସନ୍ ଭଳିଆ ଏରିଆକୁ ତାଙ୍କୁ ଆମେ ଏକ୍ସପୋଜର୍ ନେଇକି ଗଲୁ, ଯେଉଁଥିରେ କି ତାଙ୍କର କନଫିଡେନ୍ସ ବିଲ୍ଡ ହେଲା। ସେମାନେ ସେଇ ବର୍ଷ 40 ଜଣ ଚାଷୀକୁ ଆମେ ନେଇକି 12 ଏକର ଜାଗାରେ ଚାଷ କଲୁ।
ଧରିତ୍ରୀ ପ୍ରୋଡ୍ୟୁସର ଗ୍ରୁପ୍ର ଯେତେବେଳେ ତାଙ୍କର ପ୍ରଡକ୍ସନ୍ ବାହାରିଲା, ତାଙ୍କ ପାଖରେ ବଡ଼ ଚ୍ୟାଲେଞ୍ଜ ଥିଲା ତାଙ୍କର ଜିନିଷ ସେମାନେ କେଉଁଠି ସଠିକ୍ ମୂଲ୍ୟରେ ବିକ୍ରି କରିପାରିବେ। ସେଥିପାଇଁ ଆମର ଅଡମସ୍ର ଇଣ୍ଟରଭେନସନ୍ କରାହେଇଥିଲା ସେଇ ଟାଇମ୍ରେ ଏବଂ ତାଙ୍କର ଭେଜିଟେବଲ୍ସ ଯେଉଁ ଏଠି ବାରିପଦା ମାର୍କେଟକୁ କେମିତି ଆସିବ, ସେଥିପାଇଁ ଆମର ପ୍ରୋଡ୍ୟୁସର କମ୍ପାନୀକୁ ଆମ ଅଡମସ୍ ତରଫରୁ ଗୋଟେ ଭେହିକେଲ୍ ଦିଆହେଇଛି ଏବଂ ସେଇ ଭେହିକେଲ୍ରେ ତାଙ୍କର ଜିନିଷ ଆଣୁଛନ୍ତି, ଆଣିକି ମଣ୍ଡିରେ ଦେଉଛନ୍ତି। ଫାର୍ଷ୍ଟ ଟାଇମ୍ 30 क्विंटाल आनिकी देइथिले एवं सेटा एबे भी आज भी से माने सेटा कंटिन्यू करूछंती एवं तांकर जिनिस आनिकी मांट्री देउछंती तांकर संगे तांकर विभिन्न अलगा चैनल रे भी से माने बिक्री करि पारुछंती.
During pandemic period, our department, STSC Development Department, Government of Odisha, instructed us to take up livelihood program through APC mode. We had provided financial support of 23 lakhs involving 12 producer groups in Khunta block. So out of those 12 producer groups, one producer group I would like to mention, the Dhartiya producer group. We supported them financially to the tune of 2.8 lakhs through means of seeds, pesticides and biofertilizers. They have earned around 15 lakhs through selling of those vegetables at Mandi, which is really very praiseworthy and very appreciating.
जिला स्तर रे एपीसी प्रोजेक्टर मुख्य दायित्व उद्यान विभाग रही एवं जिलार विभिन्न विभाग तथा कृषि विभाग, पशुपालन विभाग, जलसेचन विभाग, पंचायत राज और आईटी संस्था समस्त सहयोगी अंशीदार रही. यही प्रोजेक्ट रे विभिन्न एनजीओ पार्टनर्स माने सहभागी अछंती एवं सेमानकर सहयोग रे यही कार्यक्रम आगे चली.
एई वर्ष खरीफ ऋतु रे मु करलाउ जन्ही चाष करिथिली. करलाउ जन्ही बिकिकी मु 70,000 टंका इनकम करिछि. पनीपरिबा चाष रु आमे इनकम करिबारु हमर परिवार टिके खुशी आसीछि. पिला माननकु आमे स्कूल को भलो भलो स्कूल को आमे पठै पारिछु. घरे भी टिके छोटे छोटे जिनस भी किनि पारुछु. आमे भलरे टिके चलुछु. एबे शांति रे टिके अछु.
Yes, Manas.
So from 2-3 acres, now villagers are cultivating, well, not 2-3 acres, 2-3 people were cultivating vegetables earlier. Now 40-50 are cultivating. So that is the transformation that has happened. So as shared in the video, we have many partners in this project bringing in different expertise. So we have representatives from some of them here today. So I would like to invite them one after another for sharing their experience and the aspects that they brought into the project. So I would first like to invite Mr. Manoj Kumar Das. He is the Deputy Director of Horticulture, Kandhamal, to share his experience of anchoring the project in the district. Yes, Mr. Das.
Good afternoon to all esteemed panelists and participants. I am Manoj Kumar Das, Deputy Director of Horticulture, Kandhamal. Actually, APC project is a flagship intervention by Government of Odisha, being implemented by government stakeholders as well as CSOs for livelihood augmentation in 12 tribal dominated and hilly districts of our state. In Kandhamal district, it is being implemented in 3 blocks, that is Pulwani, Kenwaga and Baliguda, with PRADAN as an NGO partner. As Horticulture Directorate is the nodal agency for this program, I am actually privileged and excited to act as the nodal officer for Kandhamal district. The project primarily aims at formation of producer groups at a village and panchayat level and promoting market-led collective farming in agriculture, horticulture, and allied sectors with efficient post-harvest management and market linkage thereof, for ensuring sustainable livelihood income for the targeted beneficiaries. Effective convergence of various ongoing schemes being implemented through various stakeholder government departments is ensured, and NGO partners actually act as catalysts for furthering the project. We have got district level coordination committee under the chairmanship of collector, with membership from all stakeholder departments like agriculture, horticulture, panchayati raj, animal resource development, fisheries, OLIC, Odisha Livelihood Mission, ORMAS, ITDs, etc., and also partner NGOs, and myself acting as the convener. Similarly, we have block level coordination committees under the chairmanship of respective block development officers and concerned assistant horticulture officers are convener. We adopt a bottom to top approach for formulation of annual action plan. The block committee approves the block plan and sends it to the district level committee for approval and onward transmission to the state level. The state level committee approves the action plan for the state. The block level committee sits once in every month, and district level committee meets quarterly for reviewing the progress from time to time. So far in Kanwal district, we have got 49 producer groups have been formed with total membership of 3,980 households. After 2 years since grounding of this project, we could effectively establish the convergence model for livelihood augmentation and transferring the lives of PG members. The visible outcomes of this project are fruit orchards under NREGA, MGNRGS. We have got high value vegetable and other crops production in collective mode over large fields, and we are funding it through different ongoing schemes. We have got micro irrigation coming, drip and sprinkler. We have got post harvest management infrastructures like sorting ready units, pack houses, etc. We have got farm mechanization. We are supplying implements and equipments for mechanizing the activities. And we have got animal resource sector projects like goatry, poultry units, and pisciculture also. So these are the visible outcomes that have come through this project. Actually, we worked in line with government's vision for doubling of farmers' income and women empowerment to a large extent. We also played a crucial role during COVID-19 pandemic situation towards market linkage of farm produce of producer groups through mobile vending vehicles in urban areas and linking with potential buyers from outside the district in order to maintain the livelihood support for the PG members. I feel that this successful model, convergence model, should be extended to other blocks also in these selected districts so that we can bring more beneficiaries under this umbrella and address their livelihood problem. So this is all about what I have experienced through my tenureship as Deputy Director of Horticulture. So I sincerely thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity to share my experience regarding this project. Thank to all of you.
Thank you, Mr. Das, for sharing the experience and explaining how different government programs have converged to bring about the impact that we saw. Now, Odisha Livelihood Mission has also played an important role in the project to organize the women producers and also extend different services. I would now like to invite Mr. Manoj Kumar Patra. He is the Deputy CEO of ORMAS, Raigada, to share his experiences. Actually, ORMAS has been responsible for producers group promotion on behalf of OLM. So he is going to share the experiences of Raigada district.
Good afternoon, all panelists. I am Manoj Kumar Patra, Deputy CEO ORMAS presently at Raigada. In Raigada district, we have in association with PRADAN and Harsha Trust, we have formed around 54 producer group in 4 blocks. Muniguda, Kolora, Kalyan Singhpur and Bisamkota. And these producer group are formed with a rigorous survey and mapping of a cluster, then brief training on the process of PG formation, producer group formation, its monitoring was given to the staff and coordinators of the both Pradhan and Harsha Trust. After mobilization of the farmers, there was a survey and assessment was done with the every PG. With the district level committee, there is a district level livelihood committee. Myself is also a member and district project manager OLM is a member, and Assistant PD Livelihood is also member, 3 members in this committee. After assessment, a fund support of 2.04 lakh, means 2,04,000 rupees, we are giving for capacity building, institution building and equipment. Means for equipment it is 1 lakh rupees and IBCB funds is 1,04,000 rupees we have given. So far we have already given to 42 number of producer group already we have given, another 12 number of producer group is there. So very shortly we are also going to give another 12 producer group. And similarly, we are also giving 1 lakh rupees working capital to each producer group. So far we have already given 27 producer group in Muniguda and Bisam Kotak Club. Means so far we have given 85 lakhs 68,000 rupees IBCB funds and to 27 lakhs working capital to 27 PG. For capacity building of the producer group, we have developed 5 days training module. That is 3 training. One is basic orientation of a producer group and producer group man responsibility of subcommittee, then bookkeeping. These are the 3 training, 5 days more teach. I think also we have developed and already 13 number of producer group already got the training through ASETI, Rural Self-Employment Training Institute already we have given. Remaining all producer group will give training. ORMAS has also initiated the supply of inputs to producer group. We have already one FPO in Rayagada district. There is one FPO. Through FPO also we have started the give the inputs to all producer group. ORMAS facilitated the supply sapling of marigold. Last year we have tried marigold, sweet corn, sunflower through this producer company. All these farmers have done the crop successfully and marketed their product smoothly even during COVID period. Similarly, during Rabi of this year, current year, we have planned for mushroom, marigold, sweet corn, broccoli, capsicum, almost all for all producer group. Major activity of the producer agriculture production cluster producer group includes vegetables, marigold, sunflower, livestock production. Total business so far means this year till October we have done 278 lakhs, means 2 crore 78 lakhs business already we have done this financial, and we are expecting we will reach around 4 crore rupees. For further coming Rabi season, along with the partner NGO means PRADAN and Harsa Trust, we have done a detailed planning on introduction of a new activity and value addition like livestock promotion in those PG where irrigation facility is not there, and PG member training on PG management, role responsibility of a different committee, training of Udyog Mitra. In each producer group there is one with training for Udyog Mitra on PG monitoring development. We are going to prepare one database. There is one software, ORMAS has developed one software where all the PG members database will keep, and the review meeting of president, secretary, Udyog Mitra, then marketing target with the government and private organization or sale of the farm produce, and more online review of the partner agency on the different issue. These are the things we have so far we have done in Rayagada. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Patra, for sharing the training.
हमारा line में disturbance है. Can Pooja look at it? There's some disturbance on the line.
All others have to mute actually. Thank you, Mr. Patra, for sharing the efforts made by you for training, working capital, and various other support which have been extended to the producer groups. Now, linking smallholders to market is a critical intervention in the project. I would now like to call upon Mr. Sachindra Behera of Raigada. He is an entrepreneur to share his experience of supporting the collectives in marketing their produce and getting a reasonable price. Yes, Mr. Bera.
सबको नमस्कार। मेरा नाम सचिंद्र बेरा है। मैं उड़ीसा के रायगढ़ से हूँ। मैं एक बिजनेसमैन हूँ। मेरा एक दुकान है। पिछले कुछ सालों से मैं काम कर रहा हूँ। साइड और सब्जी से मेरा सालाना लगभग 1 करोड़ बिजनेस होता है। इससे मैं 7 लाख रुपया होता हूँ। सब्जी का मार्केट में मैं 4 साल से हूँ। लगभग हर साल में 200 से 250 टन सब्जी का व्यापार करता हूँ। मैं पहले दीदी लोग को सीढ़ी सप्लाई करता था, और जब मुझे एक मीटिंग में दीदी लोग को बुलाने और सब्जी मार्केटिंग करने के बारे में पूछा, मैं इस लाइन को समझने के लिए और कुछ ज्यादा प्रॉफिट पाने के लिए हाँ किया था। इसमें घुसने के बाद मैं देखा मार्केट में कौन सा प्रोडक्ट डिमांड है। मैं पहले यहाँ उत्कल वेराइटी का बैंगन करते थे, पर उसका मार्केट में ज्यादा डिमांड नहीं था। तो हम मार्केट से वेराइटी पता किया और उसकी वेराइटी सीड मंगाया। हमारा प्रोडक्ट को मार्केट में अच्छा रेट में बेचने के लिए उसका ठीक से सॉर्टिंग करना जरूरी था। उसके ऊपर किसान को ट्रेनिंग दिए, जिससे हमारा अच्छा बैंगन भी बिका और कीड़ा लगा हुआ बैंगन भी बिक जाता था। मैं मार्केट का टाइम भी देखा। 5 बजे तक अगर मार्केट से सामान नहीं जी तो और गाड़ी भेजने का टाइम डिसाइड करते हैं। कुछ चीजें जो इस लाइन में मैं सीखा हूँ, जिसके हमारा माल एक स्टैंडर्ड पैकिंग में जाने से हिसाब रखने में और बेचने में आसान हो। मार्केटिंग एक जुआ है जहाँ इंफॉर्मेशन मतलब पैसा। सही टाइम में सही इंफॉर्मेशन बहुत प्रॉफिट देता है। अभी मैं सीड भी मार्केट का डिमांड वाला प्रोडक्ट मंगाता हूँ। धीरे धीरे नया प्रोडक्ट भी मिला रहा है। पिछले साल मेरी गोल्ड मिला है, इस साल यह मिला है, ताकि व्यापारी को वैरायटी सामान दे पाए। पहले साल मुझे डर था मार्केट से पैसा कैसे निकाला। आराम से 4-5 लाख खुद से इन्वेस्ट कर देता हूँ। उससे मेरा डबल फायदा होने लगा। सीड भी बेचता हूँ और उसका और किसान का भी मार्केट को लेकर डर खत्म होने लगा, जिससे वो ज्यादा एरिया में खेती करने लगा। जो पहले पानी था, अभी बिना डर के 1 एकड़ में करता है। ये एक रिश्ता है। ज्यादा प्रोडक्शन मार्केटिंग को आसान किया और मार्केटिंग लोगों को ज्यादा जगह में सब्जी खेती करने के लिए हिम्मत दिया। ये सब काम के लिए प्रधान के स्टाफ बहुत। अभी मैं रायगढ़ मंडी और कोरापुट से सब्जी लाके बेचता हूँ। अभी किसान रेट डिसाइड कर पा रहा है। मेरा टारगेट है कैसे लेके जाऊँ। अभी प्रधान के मदद से एक फार्मर कंपनी भी बना है। एक अच्छा मार्केट सिस्टम के से लोग कैसे इनकम करे और इसमें मेरा भी बिजनेस ज्यादा होगा। मुझे बोलने के मौका देने के लिए सबको धन्यवाद।
धन्यवाद बेहरा बाबू, इतना अच्छा से अपना अनुभव बताने के लिए। Let me now briefly translate it, whatever he said. He is into this business of marketing vegetables for last 4 years. His annual turnover is around 1 crore and he earns 1 lakh profit out of it. So over these years, during this APC promotion thing, he has played a critical role of getting the right information from the market and providing that information to the producers to produce the right thing at the right time to fetch a good price. At the same time, he also has procured the best quality inputs for the producers and also has helped producers to market their produce at a better price. This has been a win-win situation. he also has been able to increase his profit, and also he is serving to the communities he's providing. He says information is the power. So he is actually bringing the right information, which is critical to produce the right thing at the right time. So he has been able to do it. And now he is expanding its reach and benefiting and trying to reach many more farmers. Thank you. So 17 NGOs are involved in this APC project to facilitate the women in establishing the production groups in different parts of the state. CISD is one of them. So I would like to now invite Mr. Sagar Mahanti from CISD to share his experience of facilitating the project.
Thank you, Manas. Yeah, thank you, Kirti. And good afternoon to panelists. I am Sagar, representing Center for Youth and Social Development. The organization is committed for development of life and livelihood of the tribals and disadvantaged community in Odisha. Under the agriculture production program, we are working in two tribal districts, Mayurbhanj and Koraput, for promotion of agriculture production cluster. The program is focusing on strengthening ecosystem and provide end-to-end solution in basic production and caring, which help women farmers to earn significant income from their land. Before the project intervention, farmers are continue to practice in a low scale and using semi-traditional practice in both agriculture and livestock. And this group are mainly on tribals. So obviously the technology intervention is at the minimal stage. Under the APC program, we are organized women farmers for formation of producer group at village level, which resulting on collective input procurement, protective nursery practice, standard POP intervention, and collective marketing of farm produce. Scale of winner crop at micro production cluster is a great realization by the farmers and producer group. Graduation from a small scale piloting intervention in Koraput, Dasmanpur block, 22 acres of land in 2019, coriander leaf cultivate and 16 women farmers had participate. So this year 80 acres of coriander leaf cultivation by the tribal farmers in Dasmanpur block Koraput, which is an example of market synchronized production system. During the COVID restriction and lockdown period, 22 producer group jointly sell around 42 lakhs of vegetable in and around Koraput and Jagdalpur market, which is another example for bringing the private player or market player in the ecosystem. So producer company is another institution who is providing handholding support to the producer all the across business activity. So GO, NGO and community collaboration help in building livelihood asset and deliver the scheme and program in a smart way in the APC program. So combination of enterprise at the tribal household is a way forward plan under the APC program. Thank you.
Thank you, Sagar, for nicely sharing your experience in Koraput district, and that has resulted in significant increase in income of the. PRADAN holds the program secretariat of this APC project in Odisha. I would like to request Mr. Kirti Pani to share his experience of playing the role briefly because we are running short of time. So, Kirti?
Yeah. So, am I audible?
Yes.
Yes. So, good afternoon, everybody. So, it is really project is launched on 6th November 2018 where Department of Agriculture and Farmers Empowerment in collaboration with Panchayat Raj and Drinking Water Department and also BRLF and PRADAN was the partner in that, and 17 partner NGOs had joined as a partnership, and also they provided field implementation support role. So in presence of Chief Minister, this project is launched. So now it is my great pleasure to share my experience of our association with the APC project as a program secretary. And in this, we have built the capabilities of the NGOs and supported different departments in designing and developing mechanisms for project implementation. And during this time, I will just briefly capture the learnings. I see that because of this partnership, multi-stakeholder and multi-department partnership, if you look at the kind of experience which is coming out, we are able to achieve the things in a faster pace with more number of activities. So the scale is there. Though there are a lot of challenges which is innate to the governments and partnership, but overall, if you see the purpose, which was for doubling the farmers' income of 1 lakh families in tribal regions, that is actually started happening, and I'm very hopeful that we could achieve the objective. And because of this kind of experience, because in my 20 years of experience in development sector, now this template of engagement is giving a lot of confidence to me and us that this is much needed, even though it is challenging to fulfill our purpose. And secondly, let me share, because of this project, I think stakeholders and all of us has come more closer to the community. And there are some examples if I cite, like in few blocks, like block level committee, which other panelists are also sharing, they have jointly visited the producer groups and assessed the situation. So that is what is required. And similarly, in some of the policies, the new community member has been invited as a member to share the community by stakeholder has happened because of this kind of joint collaboration. And there has been a lot of information gap in implementing the schemes, which has happened better. And I will say we could reach more to marginal, vulnerable and women farmers because of this project. Let me also cite an example in during COVID times. That was a testing times for our partnership. I think because of organized community as well as the stakeholder collaboration with the stakeholders, we could actually address the issues of marketing which the farmers were struggling to sell their harvest. So we could actually produce in it, we could sell around 2,000 tons with about 3 crore rupees during that lockdown period with the help of government department. Getting an approval from the government. So that actually shows that in a critical time, in a crisis, the multi-stakeholder partnership is become very evident, and also organized community is important in that. So then second, and the fourth point I want to highlight that when APC project started, there were different directorates and departments, but later on, Mission Shakti, SC and ST department, they have also joined as a partner in the project. And because of that, I think it has contributed and strengthened the partnership. And I think everybody will also appreciate this COVID time, and it has really helped the farmers to go for more areas and to sustain during these difficult times. And I will say there are still challenges, but some mechanisms in convergence, like committees at different levels, at the block level, district, state level, anchored by the government, because this partnership is the government is leading. That's very important. And this actually committees has helped to convergence in guidance of the leadership by principal secretary, collector at the district level, and block development officer at the block level. And later on, we realized that apart from these committees, we also need to have regular meeting with the nodal officers of these departments, and that has helped to also track the progress against the convergence. Lastly, I will also say about by closely working with the department, it also has helped us to understand the importance of many schemes and also challenges in rolling these out. So jointly we could work it out how it can be addressed. Gradually, I'm appreciating the importance of collaboration, which is actually helping in effectiveness, increasing the effectiveness of the schemes, which was for, and this kind of mechanism is helping in doing that. And also personally, I am actually learning different processes in the government, how we can jointly work as per the government processes. So that's a very important learning for me. And at the end, I will say, because we are 17 partner NGOs, and each NGO has their best practices. They have significant experience in the ground. Similarly, different department has their own best practices. So when we work together, I think those best practices has helped us to bring it in the platform, and also the standard processes across by drawing those expertise has helped a lot. So and jointly the reports by doing it, and I hope we all will be the cause. And I think Samagam is such an initiative which will give us the boost to strengthen this partnership. So thank you.
Thank you, Kirti. So we now have heard about the efforts made by different actors to implement this project and what they have brought into the project. We'll now have a panel discussion. We have some eminent panelists, which I will introduce. Let us listen to their reflections on what difference this initiative has made and what more can be done. As in the inaugural session, Mr. Bagchi said that we need to look forward to a maximalist approach. So we should not be complacent with whatever we have done. We always should look forward to thinking what more can be done. So let us listen to the panelists on their ideas to maximize the impact. So I would like to request the participants to write their questions in the question and answer box when they listen to the panelists. And please mention if it is for any specific panelist. And our colleagues will collate it for the panelists to respond at the end. So I would now like to introduce the panelists. We have with us Mr. Pramathe Sambasta. He is the CEO of Bharat Rural Livelihoods Foundation. He is the co-founder of Samaj Pragati Sahyog and has more than 30 years of experience in the development sector. And I think Director of Horticulture, Mr. Lenka, hasn't joined, but we have Navkishore Tad, Mr. Navkishore Tad, Joint Director of Horticulture with us today. Department of Horticulture, let me mention, that is the state nodal agency for this project. So their role has been very critical to ensure convergence of government programs. So he is there with us. And we have Mr. Siraj Chaudhary. He is the MD and CEO of NCML, National Collateral Management Services Limited. He has served Cargill India for 24 years and retired as its chairman and CEO before joining NCML. Yes, we have these three panelists. So let us, actually Mr. Siraj wants to leave early, so I would like to invite him. I think he has time. So let me invite Mr. Ambasta first to share his experience of associating with this initiative and supporting it, and what more or what scope he sees for further strengthening the initiative. Yes, Pramathis.
Thank you, Manas. Uh, uh, I hope I'm audible and everybody can hear me.
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
So first of all, thank you for PRADAN for inviting me here at Samagam. Bharat Rural Livelihoods Foundation was set up by Government of India in 2013 as an autonomous organization with a mandate to upscale civil society action in partnership with government. Now, it's the partnership with government part which I find truly exciting about the APC program, which is why we got into this arrangement in the first place. And the most of us are from civil society backgrounds here. We know that our strength lies in creating high quality processes and enabling high quality outcomes with communities at the grassroots. However, scaling up is often a very big challenge. And while there are some organizations which seek to rise to this challenge, there are many others who are very committed, very grassroots, solid organizations who may not be able to do so for various reasons. So,
Pramathesh, will you please switch on your video?
My video is on. My video is on.
No, you are not visible. Anyway, so, okay, go ahead.
Am I visible now?
No.
That is strange because I haven't switched off my camera at all.
Okay, then please go ahead.
Anyway, so yes, so now the issue is that often when smaller organizations or civil society organizations work, they tend to work at smaller scale. The kind of impact that they would like to see at scale doesn't automatically happen given the nature of their work, the style of their functioning, and so on. On the other hand, when we work with government, we talk about scale. Government thinks at scale. It has to roll out a program for a very large area, where a very large number of people, and so on. So a program like the Agricultural Production Cluster Program, which BRLF is very happy to be associated with, brings the two together. On the one hand, we have the scale and reach of the government, and on the other hand, we have very high quality work being done by grassroots organizations who have a long presence and are able to create a social capital for some of the very important flagship programs that the state government or the central government may have. So bringing the two together immediately gives huge visibility to civil society organizations, to smaller organizations who would perhaps otherwise have not been able to gain this kind of visibility. And for state government programs, like right in the beginning, one of the speakers said that yes, the horticulture department is doing something, the the lift irrigation corporation is also doing something, MG Narega is doing something, but the idea is to bring together all of this and not just simply converge by adding the sums of money available in different departments, but convergence in a more people centered way. And therefore for the governments, there is a lot of social capital that gets created through civil society participation, and I think therefore it is a win-win for both. A very important aspect of this kind of a partnership is the fact that there are formal review systems. There is a project steering committee which is chaired by Principal Secretary Agriculture, which meets on a regular basis. It takes stock of the work done. It approves the plan for the future, and therefore there is a clear message going down the line to everybody concerned, whether it is NGOs or whether it is government, that this is a program that the government itself is taking very seriously and would like to see good results. So I think a very important step has been taken in this state, and Odisha, by the way, is also a state which has taken several such steps, including the millet mission, for instance, which are extremely important. I think the real now the work to be done in the coming years is to ensure the sustainability of this kind of an effort. In our experience, whenever this kind of a partnership takes place, one of the big benefits that arise out of this is that a lot of frontline functionaries of state departments are also equipped to carry out this task or similar tasks in the future. So that is one of the things that gives me assurance that there will be some kind of a sustainability. At the same time, at the state level, for instance, many times we have seen in many different contexts that if a particular configuration of officers or people who are in charge of a certain program, when they move out, then how do we sustain the momentum? How do we sustain the entire thing? That we have to dedicate ourselves to thinking about how to make this completely sustainable in the future, so that the people's organizations that we are creating, the clusters, producer organizations, the producer groups, they become totally vibrant and are able to negotiate their space in a very, very challenging and changing set of circumstances. I mean, one of the things that does come to my mind is, in an area like Odisha, for instance, and a lot of our tribal belt where BRLF operates, I would think that it makes perfect sense for the state to increase its investments in key infrastructural things, such as, for instance, agricultural produce markets, rather than completely withdraw from them. And a project like the APC project, which aggregates farmers, brings together very small, vulnerable farmers, makes them viable and links them to the market, would be ideal users for such, such infrastructure. So I would like not to throw the baby out with the bathwater and say that, look, I mean, government intervention in all respects is highly avoidable because it leads to this, that, or the other. I would say actually we need to perhaps look at a framework which transforms the quality of government intervention and comes to the aid of geographies which are highly neglected so far. And the entire central Indian tribal belt is one such geography which is crying out for of a reform of a very different kind from the normal ones that we think of. It's crying out for a reform where there is a greater attention to quality. There is a better state apparatus working rather than a withering away of the state and simply opening up the entire field for private market players. I'm not trying to argue against the market. I'm only saying that perhaps we need to think about the direction in which such areas should go to. This is just a thought, a few of the thoughts that come to my mind. Thank you. I'm thankful for the opportunity I've got to share these thoughts, and I'll just stop here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prometheus, for sharing your views quite openly. You see that active participation of government and CSOs with the proper review system to be the key in bringing seriousness among all the actors, and hence the desired results. However, sustaining the energy at all levels, you see, is a challenge, and it needs quality efforts.
Yes.
And strengthening other components, marketing and all of this also need to be attended to sustainably. So
yes.
Thank you. I would now like to invite Mr. Siraj Chaudhary to share his views on the initiative. He's quite experienced, so how does he see the initiative and some ideas to enhance its effectiveness in the coming years? Yes, Mr. Chaudhary.
Thank you, Mr. Manas. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be on this panel, and I'm very impressed with what I've seen and heard so far. My association with Odisha has been last 17, 18 years was when I was very closely associated with Odisha, particularly because as Kargil, we were building an edible oil refinery in Paradeep. So one had an opportunity to interact with the people, government, and various departments. And I'm very happy to say that as one sees things, we've come a long way in terms of how Odisha's agriculture has progressed, because that was always a limitation in those days. What I also realize is that I'm probably the odd one out in this group here, because I do not come from either the government or the civil society or the farming community here. But I actually come with a larger corporate sector or the food industry background. And that is where I would want to leave certain thoughts with the group. They may not necessarily be exactly in the context of what has been spoken so far, but draw inspiration from what has happened in the state and some of these initiatives. These initiatives are extremely commendable. However, as Pramatesh just said, that I think for them to get more traction and visibility, the scale has to be improved. I mean, these are all improvements, significant improvements from where we were. But as someone taking a longer term and a larger sized view, I would say that there is an opportunity to expand them before they become even more relevant and more sustainable, because the challenge with smaller initiatives I see is that their sustenance becomes questionable with change in people, change in operating environment. And therefore, my focus would be to say that, okay, how do we get more corporates interested in the agriculture space in Odisha? And while there is, the conversation so far has been around horticulture, it obviously has a range or a sort of reach which does get limited by geography and the share or the size of the produce for larger corporates to get interested, and the kind of corporates who would get interested are typically at this point of time the large retailers, people who are marketing fruits and vegetables in an organized manner. And for them to come to Odisha and to the region where the farmers are putting this together will require a certain scale. But I'm moving on to a different side of it, which is, while Odisha has historically been a rice-producing state, it has also had the ability to produce more coarse grain or the traditional grains like the millets, which is essentially, ragi, jowar, bajra, smaller millets, and even maize. And those are the areas where I'm seeing a renewed interest by the corporates. And the reason not being very difficult to see is essentially the fact that there is a lot more focus on health and nutrition in at least what I would call the urban diets. And that is the space which most of the corporates are today trying to get into. And I think that is where a larger and a longer term opportunity lies, because the best way to sustain any initiative is to give it an economic size and shape, which will then, the economic interests will keep it driven for a very long time. And that is where I think today, what has also happened post-COVID is that it has forced organizations, it has forced society to actually revisit how the supply chains were structured. Because obviously there were large disruptions in the supply chain during COVID, and organizations were then forced to revisit how their supply chains were structured. We've also had the benefit of change in the farm laws, which actually allow the buyers or the large companies or the large procurement agencies, I'm talking about the private sector procurement agencies, to make that extra effort. The new farm laws are actually enablers for those companies to now get closer to the producers. I mean,
while it may take a lot of time and investment, but the direction and the path of that change is very clear. It is now up to the whole range of participants, from the farmers to the civil society to the state government, and then, of course, the private sector, to come together to create that opportunity. So just to give you an example, I think today there is a greater opportunity for the farmer producer organizations to be coming together if they were to come, and if they, I mean, obviously the farmer measures his economics and his returns from his efforts, to say that, okay, if we can create a cluster which produces, just giving an example, to not be entirely true, but say a cluster decides to produce ragi. Now, if there are corporates which are running businesses around ragi, they would be the one who would be interested in getting close to this cluster. One, of course, in terms of sharing with that cluster the kind of requirement they have, the quality, the timing, and everything. But also in terms of co-investing from a storage, better handling, because a lot of problem that happens with some of these crops is that if they're not handled well post-harvest, they deteriorate in quality, and which then causes reduction in value. And now with this new Agri-Infra Fund, which has just been launched by the central government, there is an opportunity to create warehousing capacity at the local level, which can be of a standard sort of shape and form. And that creates or reduces the risk of crop deterioration and better storage management. And that's where, again, long-term relationships with the private sector can be established, where goods are stored well and can be used through the year. Because typically with these crops, the challenge is that they're harvested once a year, maybe some max twice a year, but they're used through the year, and someone has to carry those crops and ensure that they're carried in a good way. So I think as the more organizations are working closer to the farmer, it would be good to explore opportunities around bringing them together around some of these new, not necessarily new, they're actually very old crops, but which are finding new users and new demand. To create these farmer producer organization clusters, which have recently, the examples that have been shared with us on fruits and vegetables, but also on these crops. There can be an opportunity to set up private procurement centers, which have been allowed by the law, as well as leveraging this incentive to set up localized small-sized warehousing to ensure that the quality of the produce is preserved over a longer period of time. And if there is a plan, if there are opportunities that can be created by the organizations which are working on the ground, closer with the farmer, with the help of the local government and the local district administration, that would then become a selling point for any of you or the organizations which are working closely with the farmers, to then seek out the corporates and say that, okay, we have so much produce of this crop which we know you need, now let's talk. And that will be the beginning of that conversation, which, given the need of the corporations to create more sourcing, I mean, today, I'm just sharing with you, I know organizations which are into, selling stevia-based sweeteners. So, they have one challenge in terms of acquiring more customers, but they also have another challenge of setting up a strong, reliable stevia production base and cultivation and production base, which is of a certain quality and has a certain variety, which ensures that the taste of stevia, which is the problem with stevia at the moment, is as sort of less disruptive as possible. Similarly, for ragi, there are companies which are now exclusively producing ragi-based, health products, snacks, and everything. Now, their constant fear is the availability of the raw material, and if some of those relationships can be formed, I'm confident that Odisha's agriculture will not only be about managing the local farmers' needs and aspirations, but could actually put Odisha on a national map where certain crops, given that they are local to the geography, can be made as available nationally to the people who are in sort of serving the consumers of these products made from these crops. So it may be still a little far-fetched because there is a lot of time and organization required to put all these things together. But as you are working with the farmers on the ground, you are best placed to assess what is good for the local region, what the farmers are willing to do, the economics of that whole process. And but if that is something that makes sense and can be put together, then I guess the conversation with the larger organizations, the companies involved in sales and distribution and making products out of these raw materials would become worthwhile and could actually forge a long-term relationship between the food industry and Odisha. So I'll leave you with that thought and happy to take any questions. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Chaudhary, for presenting your perspective so nicely. You appreciated the
Manas, I can't hear you at all.
Yeah, Manas seems to have dropped out.
to share, I'd like him to share his experiences of supporting this initiative.
Manas, we missed the last 10-15 seconds of yours. Who are you inviting?
Mr. Navkishore Tat.
Okay.
Yeah, he's the third panelist. Yeah.
All the panelists and as well as all the participants present in this discussion for Samagam. Actually, this is definitely a pilot project. This is a production cluster for upliftment of the tribal farmers whose the socio-economic standards is not optimum. So this platform enables multi-stakeholders who plays a role in this project. So at the same time, basing on the success of the project, subsequently the Mission Shakti also came forward to sign MOU for this project for the betterment of the rural people. These only confines only 12 districts of 40 blocks. And by this time, basing on the success of this project, the collectors from Sundargarh and other areas where they have found DMF or other fund, they also interested to run this APC project in their districts. They are also keen with this project. Besides, there post-harvest management and valuation. So the produce is in sufficient in the market, and there is a distress sale in order to avoid these to think the post-harvest management and also transportation with the refrigerated van. We must have apart from that seed materials. We are always our people is habituated with the traditional seeds and their capacity building through training and exposure visits. They may be enriched in the good agriculture practices and use of seeds fetches good market in the market price as well as helps to standard of income. And besides farm but not the process of in this project to converge or to take the and so we have to future days we giving of series so that all the PGs can be and they can have decisions and evaluation. Besides the preservation trainings, some of the preservation trainings we must have to impart them, the groups, so that they can add some values and to change the form of their produce, so that they can sell in the distance period in a right way. So with these few words, I also one thing we have to some constraint in delivering our different programs and projects under MIDS or PMKSY, etc. We have certain limitations. So thus we are thinking our best to give the services of these government benefits to the PG members at our best efforts. So we will also think in this mind. Accordingly, the directorate is a leading organization or leading agency taking its effective role on this. Apart from that, Directorate of Horticulture is the nodal agency to coordinate to planning and for all the stakeholders into one table under the guidance of our director and principal secretary, sir, so that this project definitely will march forward, and definitely we will have a greater success in near futures. With these few words, I am concluding my talks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tad, for sharing your views with us. You say that this initial success of this initiative has really encouraged the district collectors to converge many more programs that they have in the districts, and it has contributed to the project well. However, you also further emphasize that more infrastructural services are required to boost farmers' income, and also value addition at the farm producers end also is very important in the coming years to focus on. Thank you. So I would now like to request Kirti if he has collected the questions from the participants and ask them for our panelists to respond. Kirti?
I was thinking, Manas, because of the shortage of time, quickly Noren can say for maybe 1 to 2 minutes, and in between Dr. Garg would be joining. So because he had some meetings, so maybe in 2 minutes he will be joining. So can Noren share something? Because and at the end, actually, while Vijay and Saurabh would be sharing, we can raise those questions before them. Yeah.
Okay.
So you saying no questions haven't come in yet, is it?
No, there are questions. There are questions.
Okay, so I had a few observations in generally, which I thought I could share when I am sharing in the end as well. But since there is time, let me just go right away to talk about my views on this larger collaborative project in Odisha Agriculture Production Cluster Program. See, as we sit here today and have this discussion, farmers outside are up in arms. And where I'm sitting in Noida. So Noida is one of the flashpoints of the farmer protests, and across all the borders of Delhi. Now, what are the farmers actually asking for? They're just asking for a minimum support price, and they're saying, don't just leave us to the vagaries of the markets without any basic support systems. So they are, in a sense, I mean, I'm not going to the major depths of the discussion on that point, but basically the farmers only asking for a minimum price for their products. These are farmers from places where they generally have been more prosperous parts of the country, more prosperous farmers of the country. So imagine the farmers in the areas where this project is about, Kandhamar or Raigada or Koraput and Malkangiri, and the back of beyond of this country, where Pramath said, this is a different ecosystem altogether. There, the farmers have always been left to the forces of nature and the forces of market. And in this place is from a minimum support price, as Mr. Bakchi said in the morning, from the minimum price, can they actually talk about some aspirational prices? So these backward districts, instead of calling them backwards, as when we started calling them aspirational districts, so actually can they get aspirational prices for their produce? And I think Odisha is showing a little way ahead. Yes, it is possible that if you rethink the way we operate, redirect the resources the way we have, and there are enough resources around. So if we direct our intellectual and our financial and technical resources in a particular targeted manner, it is possible. We can, get aspirational results in places which are otherwise, pretty, gloomy. So this, I think, is one of the major, message that I am getting from this project, and I've been involved in this project almost since the beginning, working with Kirti and Dr. Garg, etc. And as the project has moved on, I think there is a lot of new lessons coming up from here. So there is this lessons, and I think primarily in my view, a lot of things have been talked about. Primarily in my view, the lessons are about how collaboration happens. It's not an easy outcome. Collaboration is never an easy process. It is a very different way of existence. As I see, and especially listening to the way people are speaking today, also different stakeholders, I mean, very thoughtfully selected, right from the community, from the market systems, and from the government system, and from the NGOs, different stakeholders, the way I heard them speak. I think there is a different kind of language that is emerged. The language of collaboration is emerged. People are actually now no more talking about my own limitations and not worried about one's own limitations, but people are talking about happy about the strengths of others. And this other, the way of looking at the other and appreciating the other, I think is a very important process that is emerging. It's got a lot of way to go, but I think I can see a semblance of some kind of different kind of mutual engagement happening, much higher amount of mutual respect and mutual understanding. And so this is what I think, as I see the project emerging, which I am seeing here. And here one we can see a collaboration of the government, the civil society, and the community. So there is these three, and now more and more the market players are entering. So all these four stakeholders are coming together, engaging with each other as equals, and respecting each other as equals, and kind of drawing on each other, building on each other. So this kind of mutually synergic relationship, I think, is a very important process that we need to understand, and which we can see emerge. In fact, I was pretty amused by one of the words that the market, the trader, Mr. Sachindra Behra, used. He called the farmers as Didis. Now, we thought it's only NGOs who call our community women Didi, and otherwise there's more of a transactional relationship. But when I can actually see the relationship is of a different kind that is happening, and from each of the stakeholders, there, from the government also, you're being proud of the achievements of the community, being proud of the achievement of the NGO there. So this kind of a coming together, I think, is a major message that I'm getting, and it is possible, if you're conscious about it, to build on it further. And I would appreciate the let's say the mobilizing power that Dr. Garg has brought in, the way he's kind of brought these different stakeholders together and encouraged, and to try to build on the strengths of each of the stakeholders. So that facilitation role has been very important. But so there is so what all I'm also seeing here. So there is this one of the lessons I find in such a collaboration is how easy, or how does one come out of one's own comfort zones in terms of addressing the new challenges and working towards a larger vision. Especially, I will talk about the NGOs more, because I come from that sector. Our own community focusedness and kind of cutting out rest of the the rest of the ecosystem or rest of the stakeholders. I think that is one area we need to be also watchful about. How do we actually come out and be much more externally looking and build on other strengths, there's an aversion to markets and enterprises and so that kind of we have to come out of that kind of limitation in our own thinking and start being much more market focused and talk about agriculture not just for sustenance but for prosperity. So that I think there's a paradigm shift in one's own thinking that has to happen. Similarly, responding to youth and their aspirations, that is very important. We again talk about minimum income, minimum support price, but we have to gradually start moving more towards the aspirational sides of the young people, so that agriculture actually becomes a different, different production, opportunity altogether. Again, the ecosystem is changed. I mean, as I said, the farmers are now, the youth and their aspirations are more important. Similarly, the ecosystem is changing. A lot of tech players are coming in. A lot of social enterprises are coming in. Different kinds of technology, financial services. Now, how the faster we are able to latch on to these kinds of new opportunities and new ways of doing things, I think the better we will be able to respond to the issues of farmers. And similarly for the state government, for the government, for the state in that sense, to come out of one's own silo operations to looking at converged operations. I think that will be very important to learn to not learn in the sense, to move to into a kind of attitude where you respect and listen and then respond and respond to the different ideas, respond and build on different ideas. So that I think will be a very different way of, again, for the government systems to operate in a more convergent, in more collaborative manner. So this is, I think, the way the collaboration can actually go much farther. And I think, as I see in Odisha today, this from a APC project to actually emerging as a much more longer term, it's emerging as a platform in my mind where different stakeholders are coming in at will, different people are coming in, and coming in with one's own offering and then start seamlessly entering the whole system. So now we have many more new departments have come in. Initially, it was agriculture department and a few more of the sub departments, and the Odisha Livelihoods mission and a few CEOs, and obviously the donor community was involved. But now you see more and more departments coming in at the district level, at the state level. More NGOs are able to join. So it's kind of becoming a more of a collaborative platform than just a project. So I think we need to move towards that kind of a longer term existence where we look at creation of a platform where collaboration and convergence can happen. So each department or each program or each player, whether it's from the market or from the NGOs, we can all come together and work towards a larger, towards a larger goal and a larger idea. So this is where I see this collaboration also going. Very hopeful about what is happening. I listen to the different presentations. Okay.
Manas,
Okay.
Dr.
Yes.
Govt joined.
Yeah. Thank you, Naren, for sharing the takeaways and your vision to take it forward. We have among us Dr. Saurabh Garg today. He is the Principal Secretary of Department of Agriculture and Farmers Empowerment of Government of Odisha. He is known to be the chief architect of this initiative. I would like to request him now to share his insights on the initiative and ideas to shape such initiatives in the country to transform agrarian economy. Yes, Dr. Garg.
Yeah, thank you. I hope I am audible. I was having a problem with with my Wi-Fi. So I've been in and out of the session for the past hour or so. And unfortunately, when nothing was speaking, I missed that, and I'm sure that would have been really good insight. But I was happy to see all the participants from the speaking, as also I was able to hear Siraj, Kirti, and Pramatesh speak. So I would just like to mention a couple of issues I think that we've been trying to tackle while implementing various programs, and which APC program also highlights. The first is, I think for too long we've been working in silos. I would say not only the government departments, but even civil society, the governments, and if I can even say the corporates. And the kind of coming together that the APC project has done with 17 NGOs on board, with 5 departments on board, with 9 directorates coming together, and CSR funded institutions like BRLF and other corporates coming together. And I think that's the future of how programs would need to be implemented in order to ensure that the best value is got out of them. The second point I would just like to say is that while the government on its own operates at scale and and there's a lot of funding going into different programs, but as the APC project has highlighted, and that's the approach we are following in our other programs also, like for organic farming in PKVY or the millets mission, which Siraj Chu was talking about, we've seen that an additional 5 to 6% of funding, which is what BRLF and PRADAN and other NGOs have been able to mobilize. I think the impact of that 5 to 6% is 5 to 6 times in terms of the benefits that the agricultural program funding is able to derive. And I think that is extremely significant because it's not just the funding which is so critical, it's the kind of time and effort which civil society organizations and which I suppose CSR funding, the kind of focus that they are able to bring. And I think that 95% funding becomes so much more effective. And I think that's a learning for a lot of the government programs. And that's what we are trying to do in a number of other agricultural programs that we are implementing. And the third thing I would just like to focus on is the use and the impact of technology. We are doing that in other programs like Amar Krishi, where we are able to send out advisories twice a week to 10 lakh farmers, which we are ramping up to 25 lakh or even more. And so the kind of information asymmetries which often exist for farmers living in rural areas, and the lack of bargaining power that they have because of this lack of information. And I think the use of technology and the kind of, if I can put the moral support that civil society organizations can give to rural people, these are game changers which will impact production, productivity, incomes to a large extent. So I'll end out here. I know it's been a long session, but I'm so happy that the APC project is getting the attention in Samagam, which I really feel. And I think APC project is a manifestation of the ethos of Samagam, of trying to bring everyone together. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Dr. Govt, for sharing your views on the initiative. As you said, all actors work too long in silos. Now coming together is the way to go to really address the challenges that we see. And very important point that you said is that the impact of that 5 to 6% of project cost that BRLF brought in to support the NGOs really have increased the outcomes 5-6 folds. That is a significant point to encourage all actors to join hands and go for such an initiative. And third thing that you say is the use of technology to address information asymmetry should go side by side to enhance the impact of such initiatives. Thank you very much. Your advice has been quite useful for strengthening. I think will be useful to strengthen the initiative in the coming days.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have the last presentation of the session now. I'm very pleased to have Mr. Vijay Mahajan with us today. He is the CEO of Rajiv Gandhi Foundation now, and he's the founder of PRADAN and Basics and many more initiatives, social enterprises in the country. So I don't need to introduce him. He's well known to all of us. So I would now like to invite him to share his critique on the initiative and advice to do it better. Yes, Vijay.
Thank you, Manas. Thank you, Naren, and everybody for inviting me. It's been a wonderful session listening to the whole work all the way from the seeing the video on the Chapaldi village, and which itself captured the essence of collaboration that is happening on the ground. But also the range of actors that have been put together is quite amazing. I really want to congratulate Dr. Saurabh Garg for providing the kind of intellectual and administrative leadership that is needed to make this happen. And indeed, I think he was very right when he said that it's time we stop working in silos, both within government and across sectors, and because in some ways, we made a lot of progress in the past, in the 20th century. The 21st century has left us with a lot of more complex problems which can't be solved in the 20th century manner. So the 21st century requires intersectoral collaborations, multiple perspectives, sharing of resources, and building platforms which can both enable scale, but do it with both quality, efficiency, and sustainability. And one of the reasons, for example, and Prametesh referred to that, for example, the civil society sector is able to do things with quality, but then when it comes to scale, they have a lot of limitations, both because of resources and a number of other reasons. On the other hand, governments are, of course, experts at doing things at scale, but when it comes to quality or sustainability beyond project periods, or indeed sustainability in a financial sense, it becomes an issue. The private sector is very good at bringing in efficiency, cost considerations, bringing in technology, and so forth, but they are not necessarily able to deal with communities and other stakeholders in a manner which is which is more than transactional. So therefore, because something is missing in the in the genetic code of each of the three main actors, that is the logic for collaboration. So in the first place, simple problems which can be handled by one sector have mostly been addressed. The complex problems which can't be handled by one type of institution have to be addressed by all of us holding hands together and collaborating. And the logic is that we don't have the individually, each of the sectors don't have enough. And the example again that Saurabh just gave of BRLF bringing in NGOs with just an incremental budget of 5%, 6%, but that making a huge impact on the 95% of the project expenses, and significantly making a difference to the impact, as we saw in the video conversations, is the way to go. And this is what is called the catalytic effect. In any chemical reaction, the catalyst doesn't even get actually spent. It can be reused, but it significantly enhances the reaction. So the same way we need to basically work on getting the catalysts in. The key issue, however, is that certain processes need to be put in place. Let's imagine, and it's not. I hope Dr. Garg stays in this position long enough for those processes to be embedded. But let's imagine that he is no longer in the role that he is today. He moves on to the central government or wherever else. Would some of these things sustain? And the answer is they would sustain if indeed processes of joint goal setting, joint action planning, periodic reviews, and mutual respectful learning are put in place together. And a lot of that is soft stuff. It's not hard stuff, and it's therefore it's important that at all the three levels, at the level of the state, the district, and at the grassroots level, at the cluster level, there are mechanisms which bring all the actors together and where they periodically not just review progress in a very sort of mechanical sense, but review the learnings and including confront the fact that some things are not working. Then why are they not working? What roles and responsibilities are missing or need to be enhanced, and what can be done to either bring additional resources or additional competencies or change some of the actors. Again, I thought it was really quite amazing to see, on the one hand, someone like Sachindra Behera, and it was pointed out by Naren that Sachin used the word Didi while referring to one of the producers. So, it's not just a word. I think it's the culture of respect rather than being transactional with the producer, which is what I think Naren was pointing out to. Likewise, every one of the officials who spoke, whether it was the DSMS person or the ORMAS person or the deputy director horticulture, all of them were speaking the language of collaboration. There was no, none of that this is my turf, why have you come in, or if at all you come in, I'll give you just a limited role. The whole language has changed, as Naren pointed out, and that I think is very, very important to build sustained partnerships. The one factor that we need to think about, and since Manas said we should also talk about the critique, is the longer-term financing. So while it's important to think of the government to provide the kickstart finance, but in the long run, this whole thing should really be owned. We need to create systems in those clusters where the surpluses that have been produced, 50,000 rupees incremental income per producer is tremendous, for a place like Kandhamal or Raigada. Now, some of that needs to be plowed back, not just for the improvement of the household quality of life, but for building systems which will, in the long run, make this a producer's initiative. I mean, something like, say, what has happened in case of, Gujarat, where the Amul Cooperative and then the Gujarat Cooperative Marketing Federation, a lot of that infrastructure has come out of the profits of those operating entities. So going forward, we have to see that government financing is not 100% or 90, 95%, but over a period of time, producer finance becomes, and when I say producer finance, that includes, of course, bank loans and so on that producers may raise, but finance which is coming from the books of the producers becomes a significant, I would say at least 50% or more of the finance. So with this, I want to just congratulate both the state government and all the actors, as well as PRADAN, for putting this, wonderful example of Samagam together. And I think this needs to be talked much more widely at the national level. The APC idea is an exceptional example of collaboration. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vijay, for summarizing the views expressed by different speakers and also providing the wise counsel to strengthen it further in the coming years. Thank you. The session actually has exceeded by 30 minutes, so we have to end it soon. So Naren, if you can quickly say the concluding remarks and propose a vote of thanks.
I think we really need to rush. I'm getting message after message that
yes.
So I'll just thank everybody. I've already said what I wanted to say. A very, very enlightening session. And once again, I want to say how proud I am of this project. We are also in some measure part of this collaborative project. And as Vijay said, it could be an example for Odisha itself to expand to different departments and different programs, and to the rest of the Central India and rest of the country. Congratulations to all the participants here for being part of this APC project itself. And thank you, everyone. I'm not naming each and every person because, as I said, this is a short of time. Thank you, everybody. Let's work together. Let us live together. Let us learn together. Let's travel together. Thank you so much. We need to really rush to the other session if you don't.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Naren. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can we switch off? Can we exit?
Yes.
Thank you.